Good evening. It is I, Ron. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. Once again, we've chosen, well, this time we have chosen to give a chakra healing and a chakra meditation for the healing energies that are present everywhere around you, are always entering that crown chakra and are always moving down through your body. And when these chakras are fully aligned, you are at your best. You are physically healthy. You are balanced in your relationship to others. The root chakra keeps you within your tribe, that family, friends, the people that believe similar things to you. It keeps you centered with them. And the other lower chakras, the spleen chakra and the solar plexus chakra, these all have to do with your basic self-worth and your self-knowledge and understanding. And as each one goes up, you move, as you move to a higher level in the chakras, it brings you more and more. The bottom is always the most physical. The middle one brings you into the mental realm, so it helps you to think properly. And the third one from the bottom always brings you into a spiritual aspect and a way of being. And you begin in the second group of chakras that start with the heart chakra, the throat chakra, and the brow chakra. These are similarly, the heart chakra has to do with the health of your physical body. The second chakra, the throat chakra, has to do with your communication and your ability to speak properly so that you can communicate with others your ideas and your intentions. And so you can create peace and harmony in your life. And the brow chakra, now that is always, again, spiritual. And so that increases your spiritual vision, your spiritual understanding. And then the crown chakra is just the funnel, totally connected to your higher consciousness, through which your higher consciousness is expanded and attached to that which is in spirit. And so it is that which brings you all the blessings. And so I hope that you enjoyed this very small description of what each chakra is bringing to you in every day and how they work in your life. If you are having trouble in communicating with others, that people seem to misunderstand you, or that you misunderstand people, you can deliberately choose to send energy to that throat chakra, and in the form of a blue color. Perhaps wear a blue scarf, a blue tie, whatever it is you wish, to bring that color blue to your communications so that you can communicate more properly. If you seem out of step with your all the people around you, your tribe, that I use that term for, that in other words is your family, your friends, the people who have similar interests to you, but yet you're not comfortable or you're having difficulty within the group. There again, you need the red chakra to ground yourself. You need the red color to ground yourself in the root chakra. And this will help you settle in to make contact with your ethics and the way that you know you need to behave. And that too is with the orange of the spleen chakra, more connection with the ethics at that point. And then your solar plexus, how you behave and act ethically. You can bring these colors in if you are having difficulty in any areas of your life, to allow yourself to tune up your own chakras. Of course, you can always do the meditation and have the white light come into the crown and know that it separates into all its separate pieces of colors, and that these then will stimulate and heal. So you can do a chakra meditation at any time that you desire to make your life better and happier. And this type of guidance and help is available to you at any time. All you need to do is take the actions of meditation and to bring in the white light into yourself. Let it do its thing for your body, your mind, and your soul, and help you create a better, happier life. Are there other questions that you would like to ask on the chakras, or do you have questions on other issues in your life? And I will be pleased to answer them.
I had no idea that the colors, that if you wore the colors, it would affect you. Now, the question, I guess, is, do you have to wear the colors on that, where that particular chakra is, or does it matter?
Actually, it does not hurt to wear red underwear to stimulate your root chakra, but it is not necessary to wear the colors where they are. Wearing the color simply tends to let that color penetrate into the body, so to speak, into the energetic system.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, and there are other tips for helping yourself this way. You can take a glass of water and put it in a receptacle, or color the glass red and let it sit in the sunlight, and the water will absorb more of the red color. And that way, the water is actually energized by the same color.
Wow. I just so happens I have a red jar sitting on the window with water in it.
And then if you choose to, because if you are uncomfortable, not feeling grounded and safe, and maybe not happy within your group, then drink some water from this, and it will help to stimulate your root chakra and set it going again properly, so that, but once in a while, sometimes you can get too much of a good thing. And so you sometimes need to not stimulate the chakras, but they need to be allowed to calm down a little bit, so to speak, because balance is what you need in every aspect of your life for happiness.
So how do you figure what to take when?
That is an excellent question. If things just don't seem to fit, let us say you are just having difficulty communicating, and people don't seem to understand you, well, then perhaps you need more blue to send the energy to the throat chakra. And if it had too much energy, you may be speaking too loudly. You may be incoherent and scattered in your thought and not able to express yourself clearly. In that case, you have probably over-energized it.
Would that go for talking too much too?
Well, I never considered that, but yes, it could be that those people who talk too much especially those who seem to talk a lot but don't say anything
Mhm.
worth listening to, that perhaps they have too much of that chakra is somehow overcompensating for other things that are happening in the life.
My mother was one of those, and she loved the color blue.
Well, and did she communicate well?
Well, she talked so much that sometimes you just didn't listen to her. And then she'd get mad because she did say something important in between all the other things she said.
Yes, well, but that is past now.
Mhm.
So if she wore a lot of blue, she may have overstimulated her throat chakra.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions? And remember that we do not we do not raise our hands when no one else is speaking. It is simply the right time for you to open your mouth and speak to me so I can hear your question. Please do
I have
not.
a question, but it's not about the chakras.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. I have heard that we choose our parents before we are born.
Yes, you
So-
choose your parents.
So what about those people who are really good people and, you know, they are considered decent people and their children are criminals and, you know, all kind of bad stuff? What happened there?
Well, perhaps the children chose those parents because they have had bad tendencies in past lives. And they chose to be with someone that was parents that were highly ethical and loving and helpful. But along the way, if in the past they had difficulty with being honest or other difficulties in their life, and they choose the parents that should start them on the right pathway and help them along, but sometimes it doesn't work. You have free will. Perhaps the tendencies of the past are still strong within the consciousness or the subconscious mind, that something has been left over. And as a result, the information does not come through. I should say the upbringing does not take, because that which has been in the past lives is still strong within them. And so they continue to act badly. But they have given themselves a possibility of learning, and they just didn't take it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there another question?
I got one.
Okay.
If some, all right, we make ourselves sick, like from our own mind, emotions, whatever. So our body part reacts and gets hurt or gets sick. Now, the question is, if you go to the doctor and you take this body part out, does that fix the emotional problem or mental problem?
You mean if you come down with appendicitis and they remove the appendix, which is ill?
Yeah,
And then does
yeah.
that
If you cause the problem of the appendix being hurt or sick or whatever, and they come along and take it out, does that then make
cause,
your
yes, make the problem go away?
basically, yes.
It, I'm not going to say, yes, it makes it go away, but it is a way of dealing with the problem on an emotional level. You have now manifested physical level. There's a recovery to go through from an operation. And you had to rest Perhaps you found time because you were ill. Other people around you would react differently, and the problem may work itself out because of the illness you have created for yourself. It is a way of vicariously dealing with the problem. Excuse me. The medium's voice has been very difficult lately. I do not know why.
Fix it.
Yes. So in a sense, it does, but it doesn't magically solve the problem. But sometimes because the illness has materialized, changes must be made in thought and reactions. And you can see where having surgery would cause an interruption to previous ways of being in situations.
Right.
And so therefore, it doesn't automatically solve it. It just gives it a way of dealing with it that may bring about a resolution. And as this is an emotional situation that we are talking about, that when you have problems in your life that you're not dealing with or that you cannot deal with, becoming physically ill gives you an opportunity to react differently. And as a result, you can actually heal yourself by recovering from that illness. It is very subtle to understand, but it is not like a miracle. Oh, we'll just take out her appendix and this problem will go away, or remove her tonsils, or whatever you happen to have done to you, wherever, whatever the manifestation of illness was. Treating the illness vicariously treats the mental problem or the emotional problem that you have been dealing or not dealing with. Do you understand?
I think so. Okay,
Yes.
then if somebody's, say, in a car accident and winds up in a wheelchair, and is that like an extended, I don't know, extended emotional recovery or something?
Well, no, that may be a whole different situation, because perhaps this person came in with this possibility as part of their life manifestation. By being confined to a wheelchair, certain obstacles must be overcome. New skills must be used. You have to learn to do things differently, as well as deal with the emotional effects of having had the accident and being injured in such a way that you lost your ability to walk. These things prompt certain healing, perhaps changes in attitudes, make you look at things differently. So they can affect you in many different ways. Also, for those people that loved you, they now have an opportunity to perhaps display their love to you, giving them a chance to serve you, knowing that happiness is frequently found in serving others. And so many things can be accomplished from someone having a severe accident such as that, or coming down with a severe illness. There's many things that have to change. And so that can be bring about more demonstrations of love, help you develop patience and tolerance, determination to see if you can overcome this illness or this injury. There are so many, I was going to say, benefits to having such an accident or such a severe illness come about, that many situations will be changed. So it's not just a longer term illness that is affecting. It has many uses in a life.
I can see where, you know, from I guess a spiritual angle or our development angle, that it would be beneficial. I guess we just don't look at it that way because in the physical world, it doesn't seem like a benefit.
No, it does not. And it is often very hard. But when things happen, there are opportunities at every level to bring about good. And while you would say that someone who is blinded or blind is handicapped, they are, but they are not. And they give service to others because they need the help of others. And others are served by their service. I know that sounds a bit strange, but both people are serving one another, those who are helping and those who need help. They are serving one another. And one is conferring a blessing of allowing myself to be helped, and the other is conferring a blessing of helping. And so it is, in a sense, one hand washing the other to bring about a greater good all along. Do you understand?
Oh, yes, that makes sense. I got that. Okay.
Yes.
Basically accept anything that happens to us because we know it's happening for some reason, and it'll be to our benefit if we take advantage of it instead of being pissed off.
Yes, that is exactly it. Many situations come into your life. The most ridiculous or the most inappropriate response is to get, as you have said, pissed off at this happening. That solved nothing. It made you unhappy. By using your imagination, by acting however you, in ways that make you happier, by not thinking about it, sometimes just allowing the other person or the situation to be an example of stupidity. That someone would never have done that because it brings about animosity or ill will from their actions. And while you don't have to be bothered by those things, you can put it from beyond yourself. You can forgive the person who did you wrong or caused you a problem. And you can simply not speak to them again and don't worry about them. Just go forward with your life and enjoy your life. And they are left with whatever consequences they felt from this situation. And perhaps because you are unaffected, that only makes them more angry and annoyed. So that is the problem for them. They are hanging on to a problem rather than letting it go.
That's like the problems we have in the world, basically. And people are always talking about it and always worrying about it. And then they'll say to you, there's something wrong with you if you're not worried about. Why aren't you worried about? This is going to affect your grandchildren and great grandchildren. It's hard to explain.
I understand it might affect my children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, but we all have been affected by things going on in this world. And one of the challenges of life is to deal with the problems that come your way, to think of the solutions and move ahead with those solutions, to cope under the circumstances as best as you can cope. This brings about happiness and satisfaction for you who are coping and dealing with it. um, there is no reason to continue to make yourself unhappy thinking about the possibility that someone you do not even know, and you have no certainty on how it will affect you or your family or your friends. You just extend out there your possible solution, or solution is the wrong word, your possible consequences from a certain action, which may or may not be reasonable to contemplate or assign to a situation. If we look at the problems that have happened in the past, you can think of your World War I. You can think of World War II. You can think of your Korean War. You can think of other conflicts that have happened. Some people were killed, transitioned. Some people lost many things. Some people were maimed and injured. But their lives continued. And for many of them, it only took a period of time for them to recover from the situation, to adopt better ways of acting or behaving or perceiving. For many of them, after a time, they led a perfectly normal life, albeit that they may have been minus half a leg or an arm, been confined to a wheelchair. But people can have perfectly good, happy lives with these things. So when you look at the past and you look at the wars that made you, that caused injuries, not so much to you who are here today, but to your fathers and family members, the amount of sorrow and destruction that has happened. But it gave people the possibility of rebuilding your house in a better way than it was before. Your house is destroyed in a tornado or a hurricane. It is very sad, but you are still alive. You have lost many things. And so it will take time to replace the things, to rebuild your home. But when that is finished, you can continue back and continue to live. The disappointments are but momentary. They pass, they turn into the past very quickly. Just the same as your pleasures. They are for the moment, and they disappear just as quickly.
Yep, that part sucks.
Yes, you would like to
mean-
keep the pleasures handy, and you can extend them out by
Yes.
remembering them and enjoying them.
Yeah,
Move beyond the disappointments over time, and you can forget about them forever and not have them bother you again. You have your choice.
I choose to get rid of the disappointments, but I choose to like some of the pleasurable things to like, they could have stayed around. I don't know why they had to go away.
Well, then they pass into memory, and you can enjoy in memory.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Are there other questions?
Yes.
I-
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
you go ahead. You go ahead because I already asked one. You go ahead and then I'll
Thank you.
ask.
Thank you. So I was just reading an article in a book, and they were talking about soul retrieval. Can you tell me
Talking about, what
about-
did you say? Excuse
It
me,
was-
talking about,
soul retrieval?
something retrieval.
Soul, S-O-U.
Oh, soul. Yes.
And I was just wondering, what is that? Do people lose parts of their soul and the shamanistic medicines bring it back to them? Is that what that means?
And so you were asking what this article was referring to when they were speaking of soul retrieval? Is that your question?
Yes, that is the question. Yes.
Yes. I am not sure what they had in mind, because were they talking, speaking?
It was an article about shamanism and the fact that some people help people to retrieve their souls. And I was just wondering what that meant. Like, do they lose parts of themselves, or do they just become so dark within themselves that they're not able to see the light of God or source or whatever you want to call it?
Oh, now I am beginning to understand of that which you are helping me to understand what the article was about. Yes, it is an expression. Some people do get lost in their emotions and their thoughts and their world. And so it is said that they have lost parts of themselves. Now, that is not truly a part, like they did not lose an arm or a leg or a foot, but they have lost perhaps a level of understanding who they are. They lost confidence in themselves. Sometimes people get involved in, we will say, drug habits, get themselves addicted to drugs on the physical level, in the sense it is very difficult for them to manage their own life because they have this addiction, so they feel powerless about it. Some, of course, they are speaking of people who sometimes develop mental illnesses, and so their thoughts are not logical. And so what they are saying is that these people who were dysfunctional in some way get back their functionality, which is sometimes referred to as soul retrieval. It truly is not, it is a misnomer, because you never lose your soul, but they are referring to soul as being an essential part of yourself, so that you may have lost an ability to stand up on your own because you are addicted to something and you are always responding to that addiction, that you are unhappy over a situation that is partially part of your own making and has been brought about through poor thinking, that you have developed perhaps a mental illness. So when you are able to take control of your life, that is soul retrieval, as far as I can understand what you are saying. I have heard that expression used in response to those type of situations. The soul, of course, cannot be broken apart, and it is your life essence. But I can understand where someone might choose to use those terms, because it does bring a person back into their full consciousness and perhaps into living a happy, healthy life. Was
Thank
that
you so
helpful
much.
to you?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Why would someone choose to come as a drug addict, and how do you help people like that?
They don't choose to come as a drug addict. No one chooses to come as a drug addict.
Okay.
They would choose, perhaps, if you wish to use that word, to be born into an environment where they might be exposed to drugs. Now, this can come into all kinds of environments in many different ways. Some people will decide to sample the drugs and begin to play around with them and become addicted because they did not realize that they could become addicted, or they thought they were beyond being addicted. They were perhaps too, they had supreme self-confidence in their ability to always remain under control. And so they misjudged the situation and they become addicted. But it was not a choice per se. Once again, there are situations where people come into a lifetime for the purpose of triumphing over a difficulty or a disability, to show that their skill, that their ability to recover is strong. They sometimes want to experience or remember what you would consider to be something that is harmful, so they can overcome it. That seems rather strange, but if you are confident in your abilities, you may choose to make that kind of a situation in your lifetime. Chances more are they expected that they would reject the substance abuse before they became abusers and addicted. But they were just not successful. That they had a weakness in themselves, a weakness of character in that physical world. And so they found that they could not overcome in such a way. The reasons for incarnating into a difficult situation are usually that you have learned from previous lifetimes how to overcome these situations. Sometimes you come to demonstrate to others that it is possible, to show that possibility. And so you do not fear the possibility of addiction, because the purpose of your life at that moment in time is to help others see that it is possible to become triumphant over addiction. And that there are many people who have overcome their addictions and gone on to help other people overcome their addictions. So they are helping other people. So that's one of the reasons why they come into, I will call them dangerous situations, because they can show that or demonstrate that it is possible not to fall into that dangerous situation and becoming involved. I hope that is helpful.
Yeah, and what happens if they cannot overcome it? Do they have to repeat the experience, or?
That is a good question. So they never overcome their addiction, and perhaps the addictive substance one day causes their transitions because they have overindulged in something that their body could not take care of, and it caused them to die, as you would say, or to transition into spirit. Now, there they are. They have not been successful in this lifetime. And there's another reason to come back again. And perhaps they will choose a better environment, hoping that this time they will have all the strength of character that they need to avoid the addiction and the situation which caused pain to their other family members, as well as caused them to transition prematurely, as well as wasting life and not being able to help other people or do anything productive. So that is now a problem for them. so to speak, while they are in spirit. They can decide to come again, and how will they try to counteract that mistake which they made in a previous lifetime? How can they save themselves? How can they demonstrate? Perhaps they won't come again, or they will come into a situation where they never are exposed, or they learn really well that they need to stay away from certain things. That is usually what happens. Then they have a demonstration of perfect health and perfect being, and they can move on to working at demonstrating other things in their life, perhaps perfect love.
Oh. Now, does that mean that you don't need to worry about them? Just let it be?
You mean if you have a family member or friend who is addicted to something?
Yeah.
Well, there is only so much you can do. You, as a family member or friend, can do your best to inspire them to give up their drug or their addiction. But there is only so much you can do. And so as long as you do not become involved to the point of making yourself frustrated or unhappy, if you are willing to accept this person with their flaw and character and still love them and wish them well, and you do not work at trying to make them give up their addiction, but love them and accept that they have a problem, then you are doing what you need to do. You don't have to do anything else. It is for you to be happy and to love someone, that friend of yours who is addicted, and to wish them well and pray for them. And then you have a blessing.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Are there other questions?
Do you keep coming back until you like move up a level? Is that how it is? Or do you, until you reconcile with whatever it is? Especially that from what I've been reading, we all come back with our same tribe pretty much. Next time might be the husband in the situation where I was the wife, or I could be the addicted child or whatever. And do we just keep switching like that? Or do we just finally come to a point when we say, look, God, here I am, keep me, I've done the best I can. I don't know.
Well, as we have said in the past, one of the reasons for incarnating is because it is the only way that you can fulfill that part of yourself, which is the creative power of God, is in the physical world. When you are in spirit, you cannot create. God can create, but you cannot create. But you come into the physical world, and now you have the ability to create. So very often, that is a great part of the reason for incarnating into a life, is because you get a chance to create a beautiful life, a perfect life. And that is what you're striving to do, to create happiness, as well as give love, to help others. There's many reasons for coming, but essentially they are a development of your own character. So that even if you have been, if you have led a perfect life, that you have helped others, that you have been for the most part happy. Everyone has difficulties in life, and so they cannot always cope with them well. So you have your little mistakes, but in general, you had a loving, happy life, and you and your family members were happy. There may have been difficulties, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to come back again, but you may still choose to come back again so that you can create again. it is like creating a beautiful picture, writing a wonderful novel, any creative process that, except that you create your life. And so it is a magnificent task. One that is extremely appealing. And God doesn't make you come back. You decide whether you wish to reincarnate again. God doesn't say, you fouled up in that lifetime, so you have to go back until you get it right. And you and your husband will continue to come around, or you and your child will just have to continue to live together life after life until everyone behaves themselves and you have a great life. No, that is not the way it is. You may choose, if you wish, to come into a lifetime that is similar or with someone that you have been with in the past, because either you had challenges together and this time you're going to make it a happy life or a happy relationship, or because you had such a happy relationship and you could help one another. Again, you wish to be together so that you can once again express that love, but it may also give you an opportunity to work together to create something special or something good. And so there are many reasons for reincarnating with people that you have been with in the past. Also, the aspect of karma, the fact that you may or may not have had a good relationship in the past, giving you karma with one another, meaning that there are consequences, things to be worked out. Perhaps someone that you didn't get along with, you wish to have a harmonious relationship. And so you come, and many times there is not a difficulty. You just have a more harmonious relationship because you have time while you are in spirit to think about what you would do or how you would be different. Of course, when you incarnate on the physical plane, most of those things are forgotten because your mind of your physical body overtakes that consciousness that you have, which is, and the knowledge that you have, which is still in spirit in your super consciousness. And your mind, because it is part of your physical body, becomes dominant over time, and you forget that which you had intended, those things that you would do. But at some level, they often, the situations that you come into, the people that you are with, bring opportunities for you to continue to work on your relationship together, to improve it in any way. And so that a difficult relationship that caused karma because perhaps you did not treat one another well, both of you, now can be resolved because different situation. And now you learn to help one another or to love one another. And so you create successes in every life. Most lives have some successes as well as difficulties. So I think that answered your question, yes?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Are there other questions?
Okay, so let's go back to being in spirit now. You were saying in spirit you are not creating, but when you're in spirit, aren't you have thoughts and ideas and you're talking to other people. Don't you actually, I don't know, create, advance, whatever, because you're talking to other people and you're learning and comparing, I guess, situations or however you lived or whatever. But aren't you still, isn't that a form of creating because your mind is still working, it's still changing, and you're still thinking? Isn't that still creating?
There is no product of your creation.
Product?
What did you create?
S- More knowledge?
Well, yes, but that is not creative in the sense of manifesting something and touching something.
Oh, so you're talking about physical physical
Yes,
creations.
that's why you enter into an incarnation, because you are in the physical world and are capable of creating, literally, in the case of men and women and animals. You bring forth from your own physical bodies more bodies.
Yeah. Well,
And
is
so-
relationships considered creating if you're in?
Well, yes, but when you are in spirit, you certainly don't have arguments.
Right.
You don't have conflict or ideas because you can see things differently and more clearly. So my perception of something is not different from your perception. So we cannot have disagreements.
What about
So-
those spirits that you said like to annoy us or be bad to us or cause problems, and they have a different
Such as
agenda? I remember this way you put it.
Such as poltergeists?
Well, not well, even like you said, if you're going to go into trance or something, and like you, Ronkar, you're coming through Norma. If there was somebody else out there like you, you said that we need to protect ourselves before you allow something like that to happen, because there may be others out there with a bad agenda or whatever.
Yes, and there is a ritual truth for the medium to go into trance, which includes the white light prayer of protection. And in a sense, after agreements are fulfilled, in other words, the medium allows her body to be used, and the method of by which that occurs is established for the medium, and it is not as necessary to have the prayer of protection, because it is already established how we will do this, and it is not an open thing to any spirit. In the beginning, before these rituals are established, there is a need for protection for the medium.
But the question kind of is, if all the spirits in spirit are, all connected and all, I don't know, good, for lack of a better word, where does this bad spirit come in? How can that, in other words, how could that be separate from the rest of you? How can they?
Yes, that is
Know what I mean?
it is an excellent question, but very often some of these mischievous spirits, I will call them, are not those who are connected in the human cycle. They, some of them are, how to explain it? One moment. I'm sorry, I find it very difficult to put into words. These are not the souls that inhabited human bodies.
Oh.
Some of these are elementary life forms, such as you refer to as fairies, elves, that have acquired every aspect of creation has several different levels. And when it comes to souls, there are souls which are not attached to the level of reincarnation as is the human spirit, the human soul, which of course returns to God. We have our own group soul, so to speak. And some of these souls, well, this is why they have come up with the devil myth. They're not quite the same as angels or the creative spirits that God uses in his creation. They are, I can only say, different. They are not attached to bodies ever, but they have a certain level of energy which allows them to affect things on the physical world. And that is why you find things like poltergeist activity. When given an individual who has such as a child, a teenager perhaps, who has a great deal of energy, sometimes this energy can be fed off of in order to create more energy to a spirit, which gives them more power on the physical world. And I only think of them as half-formed spirits, half-formed souls. And they do not, they sometimes try to fulfill themselves by attaching themselves to people on the physical plane. And don't give up that attachment.
That wouldn't be go as far as possession, would it?
In a sense, it is a bit of possession. But again, they are not terribly I do not know how else to explain it. Yes, it is a form of possession. Some of them do have, as I said, they can use the energies that are present and create phenomena themselves in the sense of movement of things or some things that which are referred to as phenomena. In other words, they don't seem to have a physical explanation, and there's no reason they should be taking place. But very often it is someone who is capable of being a medium who provides the energy for these entities to use. It is because they accidentally got involved with these type of spirits. and they could have been excellent mediums, but they did not have the training or did not have the clarity of mind to progress and allow, well, they just allowed themselves to be possessed, or added spirit and energy to types of spirits that should not be allowed to, or are not normally allowed to be active on the physical plane. I cannot explain it any better.
Can they do any real damage to the a human spirit or human body?
If they possess it fully, they can, simply by making the person self-destructive and doing things to themselves, which does not help.
And if the person transitions, then what happens?
To be honest, I do not know. I'm not sure how that is handled.
Oh, I got you, huh? Oh my goodness.
Yes, I do not know when the person has transitioned, if they are fully free to regain their sanity, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know what happens in that regard.
Ah. Well, when you go back to spirit and you're out there wandering around, see if you can check it out.
I would think they have more of a tendency to be earthbound spirits.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that would be good. I can stay here.
Rather than coming into the full transition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was very interesting.
Yes, you have made me work. Are there any other questions?
One last one. Are there any emotional state that makes the person vulnerable to be possessed?
Oh, yes, there are. Some people whose minds are not functioning properly make them vulnerable to possession. Also, the use of some things such as Ouija boards, which can allow, since you do not know who is on the other end, can allow someone to communicate. And if the individual makes a mistake and almost requests that they have a fuller union with the spirit, sometimes that allows the spirit to possess someone. So it can happen accidentally through the use of such tools as the thought, where communication has been going on, that someone expressing, I wish that we could be together, or see one another. And these things can bring about, allow a possession.
Oh. Now, what you said something, someone whose mind is not working properly.
We are
What
not speaking of someone, of say, people with dementia who do not remember things. When we are saying not working properly, I'm speaking of people with psychosis and with psychosis.
Oh, okay.
In other words, they are not really in tune with reality fully.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Well, it is quite late and it is time for us to say good night. So I will give you all my blessings. Good night.
Good night, and thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Good night, thank you.
I am back. Okay, it's my turn. Is there anybody have a question for me? No? Okay. Well, then it's my time to say good night. Remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good night.